Right, hey guys, how we doing? Back another video from 6. Video I want to check out for quite a bit. Kakashi would likely beat Gojo. I think it's interesting because I did the Seth video. It mentioned Kakashi versus Gojo, and I was like, I want to check that video out from 6 anyway. So, boom, it's all related. It all links together. We are all in the Matrix. Let's check this out.
White hair and superpowers, and that's all the intro you need. If you like this type of content, consider subscribing and leaving a like on the video. Let's get started with Gojo.
Alright.
It's no secret that Gojo's Limitless and Six Eyes take him extremely far when it comes to these battles with opponents outside of Jujutsu Kaisen. The ability to simply not be touched removes traditional win cons from even playing a factor in a fight. Saying that someone will punch him really hard, blast him away, or speed blitz him become null and void since you cannot land a hit on him.
Yeah, so annoying. Power scaling against Gojo. It's just like, yeah, you can't touch him.
While it is possible to bypass Limitless under certain conditions, many characters do not reach those conditions, so the battles often end up becoming wins in Gojo's favor. That last part I heavily disagree with. The fact that a character might not be able to hit Gojo does not mean Gojo can then beat that character. Jujutsu Kaisen characters are extremely slow by the standards of most higher tier battle shonen
Oh yeah.
and mostly lack the power to follow up. So the question then becomes if Kakashi is one of the characters that is an exception to the rule that is Satoru Gojo. But we'll talk about that in a minute. First, let's talk about the ability that makes Gojo untouchable, the neutral limitless or infinity.
Yeah.
Since Gojo is the second strongest in Jujutsu Kaisen, the Infinity only serves as a tool to even further widen the gap between him and the rest of sorcerers and curses that exist in the Jujutsu Kaisen universe. Infinity even played a huge part in the battle against Sukuna, making it impossible to use any curse technique against Gojo, and basically forcing Sukuna and then Gojo by extension into doing a domain clash. The technique being so complicated that even Maharaga, who can adapt to any technique in the verse, say like a ball that generates infinite pressure, takes 4 spins of his wheel to understand and adapt to Gojo's curse technique. Infinity is a barrier around Gojo that slows down things approaching him so that they never hit. Both Gojo and series creator Gege Akutami say that this is done similar to Achilles and the tortoise. In the paradox, Achilles races a tortoise that has a head start. To overtake the tortoise, Achilles must first reach the point where the tortoise began. By the time he gets there, the tortoise has moved further. Achilles must then reach that new position, and then the process repeats infinitely. Mathematically, the distance between them can be divided infinitely into smaller parts, creating the
Mathematics.
illusion that
Whoa.
Achilles will never pass the tortoise, despite logic telling us otherwise. The paradox is key to understanding Gojo's infinity. It doesn't create an infinite amount of space around him, but rather it forces the concept of infinite divisibility within finite distances.
Okay.
In essence,
I like
Gojo's
that.
curse
Okay,
technique
cool.
makes this paradox a physical reality, preventing objects or opponents from reaching him. In one of the volume extras, Giga Akutami explains that Gojo's curse technique is like the convergent infinite number in the Achilles and the Tortoise paradox brought to reality. This highlights the infinity Gojo uses isn't an actual infinite space, but a controlled phenomenon based on mathematical convergence. The infinity is simulated through the application of an infinite series rather than existing as a boundless physical reality. Gojo himself explains it as my technique involves the convergence of an infinite series, things that approach me slow down. While this sounds complex, it essentially means Gojo manipulates the concept of infinite divisibility like I said earlier. For example, we move from point A to point B, whether typing on a keyboard or walking, there are theoretically infinite points between the start and end point. Gojo's infinity weaponizes this concept by creating a barrier where the infinite divisibility manifests physically. In the Shibuya arc, chapter 85 specifically, Gojo demonstrates this by countering Jogo and Hanami's domain amplification when they attempt to neutralize his infinity. Gojo strengthens his curse technique, expanding the finite
So
barrier
cool.
until it crushes Hanami against the wall.
Oh, which is so
To
sick.
sum up here, Gojo's infinity doesn't create an endless space, but it enforces the paradox of infinite divisibility within a limited range around him, creating a simulated infinity that protects him. As per normal with Gojo, we have to wonder, can someone that's simply stronger than him punch through it? And the answer to that is both yes and no. The argument for this lies in domain expansions and domain amplification. Domain expansions bypass curse techniques.
I like the explanation to all this, but I'm very intrigued as to how this translates over to Kakashi. I think that's where the really interesting part's going to
Contrary
be
to
to
how
this.
some people believe, domains don't turn off curse techniques, but since they have a sure head attached to them, Any defensive moves you would normally be able to employ
Yeah.
don't work. For example, someone far beneath Gojo like Jogo can land a hit on him once his domain has been expanded. But what's the reason for this? The answer is extremely simple. Jogo is able to hit Gojo because his domain is more potent than Gojo's infinity. That's stated here by Jogo.
Right.
The fact that they are in his more potent domain, his attacks will now reach Gojo. Some people think that domain attacks just spawn on you as opposed to actually being launched at you, but that isn't the case. The only proof for this that I could find anyway is Maki inside of Dagon's domain stating that the sure hit didn't exist until it had already hit her.
Right.
Whether you want to say Maki just got blitzed or whatever, doesn't matter to me, we know that this isn't true. For one, the diagram for Falling Blossom in motion and the fact that the technique worked on Dagon's domain at all disproves the notion that the fists don't exist until the technique hits you. Not only that, but Dagon literally says he will split the sure hit 70% for Naobito and 30% for Nanami, and we see him summon the fish before making them attack. There are other examples of this as well. You can see Sukuna's slashes attacking Gojo's barrier. Yorozu's sure hit is visible prior to attacking when it comes to True Sphere. And I guess it depends with Yuta since he can have different sure hits each time he expands his domain, but Jacob's ladder fits into this as well. Point being, that isn't how domains get past curse techniques. Domains don't turn curse techniques off because we see Sukuna use Maharaga inside of two different domains, Yorozu's and Gojo's. Gojo used red and blue inside of Sukuna's domain. Nanami used ratio inside of Dagon's domain, and Naobito used his ratio in there as well. And it
Projection
doesn't make
sorcery.
sense for domains to turn off your curse technique anyway, because if they did, it'd make it impossible to counter with your own domain expansion, since domain expansions are manifested through your curse technique. This is just a really, really long way of explaining that Gojo's infinity doesn't get turned off by domain expansions, and the sure hits don't just spawn on you. Instead, they simply bypass infinity because, like Jogo says, the domain is more potent. This lines up with domain expansions being the pinnacle of Jujutsu sorcery, or true Jujutsu sorcery, where the only thing you can do against the domain with anti-domain techniques is buy time and hope to damage the user enough that their domain drops before they inevitably negate your anti-domain technique. Sukuna is the only person who could bypass that particular weakness, since he can keep up his hollow wicker basket indefinitely due to him having two extra arms that can hold the sign. Domain amplification works in a similar way to negate curse techniques. Gojo says that it allows Sukuna to negate Limitless in blue because they have lower output than red, which he can't fully negate. This is telling because Jogo and Hanami couldn't fully negate the neutral Limitless, since Gojo said that in return he just amplified his infinity and overpowered. So it's pretty consistent that things with an overall higher output or things that are more potent can bypass Gojo's Limitless, and that's how domain expansions do it. No one at JJK can do this, obviously, since no one is stronger than Gojo, except Sukuna, who in reality might not have any techniques with output on the level of Gojo's infinity. Aside from, of course, domain amplification and domain expansion. But does Kakashi have anything of the
There
sort?
we go.
Since it's generally agreed that Kakashi is stronger than Gojo, like I said earlier, it sort of fits that you would kind of just rope him in this category. The series creator also kind of agrees with this sentiment, stating that Gojo isn't really on Kakashi's level yet. The direct quote is, "People often tell me it's a good thing that Satoru Gojo is as powerful as Kakashi Sensei, but I always tell them he's not in Kakashi Sensei's league."
Boom. There we
This
go.
may be
What's
a
that?
bit of intuition pumping, but this statement does not sound like Gege is saying Gojo is in a higher league than Kakashi. It sounds like they're saying Kakashi is in a higher league than Gojo,
Gojo, yeah.
even calling him Sensei, where Gojo doesn't get that same respect. You also have to think about how this phrase is commonly used. Someone saying another person is way out of someone's league is usually meant to denote that that person is on a higher level than them. But how could
Yeah,
Kakashi
like let's
do
let's use the childish approach. Wow, that girl's so out of my league. Like, she's better. Yeah.
What other ways Kakashi could beat Gojo? If you don't like my entire argument for why Kakashi would just punch through Gojo's infinity, we can just start talking about the different win conditions and if there is any way Kakashi could actually be beaten by Gojo as well. Kakashi's Sharingan is what he's most famous for, and at the beginning of Shippuden, He displays his
Mate.
unlocked the
Yeah, the
Mangekyo
Mangekyo,
Sharingan,
wow.
which data recalls Itachi-level ocular powers.
Boom.
With this dojutsu, Kakashi can open a portal and send people to a separate world, commonly referred to as the Kamui dimension.
Kamui!
Databook 3 has an extensive breakdown on this jutsu, saying an unmatched jutsu that changes the dimensions of the visible world. An original ocular jutsu of Kakashi unleashed from the Mangekyo Sharingan. It makes possible the transference of any object to another world. This technique can be used after taking time to create as much chakra as he can. Kakashi captures his target in the sealed dimension and concentrates his mind on a point beyond his line of sight. The target will struggle, but there is no defense against this jutsu. All the target can do is be drawn into the wrinkled space.
Boom.
Towards the bottom here, it says that he is able to specify the barrier's size and location at will. Over on the left, it says when the jutsu is used, a wrinkle forms in the center of the barrier, and everything inside the barrier is sucked in. There is no jutsu to fight this. With proficiency, it becomes a frightening jutsu that can suck a whole person into another world. The part about Kamui having no defense isn't as important to this debate and conversation as it would be to an inverse Naruto debate, but it does at least prove that even people stronger than Kakashi could get sucked away by this jutsu with no hope of getting out. The description calling Kamui a wrinkle in space is mostly important because this is exactly how Sukuna was able to bypass Infinity. Instead of targeting Gojo with the slash he launches, he instead aimed the slash at the part of space Gojo occupies, and therefore, even though Infinity was in front of Gojo, it didn't matter since the target never had anything to do with Infinity.
Damn.
Infinity protects Gojo. It doesn't protect the space surrounding
Hmm.
Gojo, so Gojo got cut in half. On top of this, Gojo's Infinity is imperceptible. Just taking a look at the guy, you would never know when he does or doesn't have his Infinity on. So it's not like Kakashi's portal would spawn on Infinity since he can't even see it for that to happen in the first place. There is the talk of, well, what would Kakashi target in character if he was fighting Gojo? And while this might seem like an interesting question at first, it's pretty apparent if you actually read the manga that Kakashi would go for his head. Kakashi originally wanted to take Datara's head off when he used the jutsu, but he was too inexperienced and missed when he launched it.
Yeah.
You can see the portal open near Datara's chest and slowly move over to his arm. But after taking it off, Kakashi says he missed, and the next time we see him use it, he tries to go for Datara's head, but he misses again. This shouldn't really be a problem for Kakashi in this fight with Gojo. By the time of even the pain arc, Kakashi had gotten so skilled with Kamui that he was able to Kamui a nail that was flying at him.
Yeah, plus Kakashi is a hell of a lot faster than Gojo as well.
And in the war arc, Kakashi never missed his target once, being able to Kamui a full KCM to Naruto clone and leave it completely intact, as well as the full 8 tails, although he did leave behind a tail on that one. So if he chooses to go for Gojo's head, he should be more than able to make that happen. DMS Kakashi makes this almost completely unfair. At this point,
Oh
Kakashi
god,
can
yeah.
bypass
No
Gojo's
chance.
Infinity with the other Kamui by becoming intangible and hitting him in the face with a Kamui Raikiri, which, according to the databook description, would also just send Gojo's head to the Kamui dimension. I think I've made it pretty clear Kakashi would win this fight, but I want to talk about one way I think Gojo actually
Ooh,
stands a
okay,
chance against
okay,
Kakashi,
okay.
that
Alright,
being
yeah.
his domain expansion Unlimited Void. Tons of people misunderstand Unlimited Void and how dangerous it is because they think it's simply allowing tons of information to flow into your brain, but that's more the result of the technique, not the effect of the technique. What Unlimited Void does is never let you get past the first step of your thought and forces it on you infinitely. If you were inside of Unlimited Void and thought orange juice, instead of thinking that, you would think, oh, oh, oh,
Okay.
oh, until Gojo rescinded the Unlimited Void, and having it done to you in that much time, however long Gojo kept up the Unlimited Void, would fry your brain for a certain period of time. Now, it is true, however, or it seems to be anyway, that stronger and faster people recover from this quickly. Where it took non-sorcerers in the train station a little more than a month to recover, Jogo, Mahito, and Choso recovered fairly quickly, and same with Sukuna. Although you could chalk this up to curse resistance instead of a stat-related thing. The reason being, 0.2 seconds of Unlimited Void is about 6 months worth of information, and like I said, the humans recovered in about a month. However, Kakashi being inside of Tsukuyomi just for 3 days put him out of commission for a long
Yeah,
time.
he was out for a while.
So if 3 days of information can do that to Kakashi, just imagine what 6 months could do.
Right, yeah.
There is a discrepancy in the two techniques, obviously. Tsukuyomi activates in a much shorter amount of time. If you go by the novels, it's a literal picosecond. And of course, Kakashi was getting tortured that entire time, so it's not the exact same, but it's something to think about. Gojo's unlimited void, however, might not even hit Kakashi in the first place. If Kakashi can see the building up of cursed energy to do his domain, he can counter with Kamui in order to warp Gojo away, or if he's DMS Kakashi, he could use the Kamui Raikuri like I mentioned earlier. A more goofy way around Unlimited Void is if Kakashi uses substitution jutsu to make Gojo think he got him,
Huh.
and all along it's just a log. This is obviously a bad thing for Gojo because it's not like, oh, it just didn't work. Gojo will be in cursed technique burnout, so Kakashi can hit him without even having to worry about infinity in the first place. To wrap the video up here, Kakashi beats Gojo 9 times out of 10, and the one time Gojo wins is if Kakashi gets in Unlimited Void for some reason. Obviously, if you liked the video, leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel, but other than that, have a nice day.
Boom. And there we have it. Kakashi is the victor. I like it. Very interesting. I love the explaining of Unlimited Void and stuff like that. How he goes into the mathematical stuff. And booyah! I don't think I've got any more JJK videos to check out now. That was a nice little step back into the JJK universe. Yeah. Thanks for watching.